All right, Wilson, I think I'm ready now. It is 6:31. Another frosty morning here in Billings, 28 degrees. We had 22 again out at the ranch this morning. Bonus Thursday as we look at First News. It's fair, it's accurate. You get the damn truth. Few of our elections in the nation's history have provided such a divide as this year's. Two of the major candidates, so many of their supporters saying the outcome will determine the fate of the country. Now, we don't know how many supporters Kamala Harris has because she did not receive one vote, though. Did she, Mark? Already. To get into this, people have already cast their ballots. Across the country, we are seeing record levels of absentee ballots already being reported. Kamala Harris wants Americans to stop pointing fingers at each other. She made the pitch in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of her blitz at some of the battleground states, even though the whole point of her campaign message is about Donald Trump. She's stressing unity and common ground. Nothing on policy. She said she'll represent all Americans, including those who don't vote for her. She's obviously referring to the garbage people of the country. Former President Trump climbed into a white garbage truck yesterday that carried his name to draw the attention made by President Joe Biden the day earlier. Speaking to reporters on a tarmac in Green Bay, he said, "How do you like my garbage truck?" as he wore an orange and yellow safety vest over his dress shirt. He even kept that on when he did a rally in Green Bay yesterday. Survivors of the worst disaster to hit Spain in more than 100 years are seeing the devastation in their villages. Had some monstrous flash flooding. 95 people are dead. The death toll is expected to rise. Damage left by a strong hurricane, and they had a tsunami there as well, which caused a lot of the problems. America's presidential election next week will also come after Iran will mark the 45th anniversary of the 1979 attack on our U.S. Embassy and the hostage crisis. Many tensions between Tehran and Washington are as high now as they were then. Iran remains locked in the Middle East war situation, providing all the military hardware and equipment, funding Hezbollah and the Hamas terrorists right now. They're worried about the outcome of the election. They've been able to do this under the Harris-Biden administration. They know it would be different under an administration of Donald Trump. He had them under control for 4 years. Also, just so you have something else to worry about, North Korea yesterday confirmed they have now tested and are happy with the success of a new intercontinental ballistic missile. That's right. Their missile program has escalated under the last 4 years. Virtually, this administration has paid no attention to North Korea, and they are very volatile at this point. In fact, North Korea's 10,000 troops that they sent to Russia to help Vladimir Putin in his quest to overtake the Ukraine military are now in Russian uniforms, and they are going to be used in battle against the Ukrainians. Washington Post has lost 250,000 subscribers since last Friday, saying they weren't going to endorse a candidate. According to a report from the newspaper, like most news organizations, they are struggling to try to attract interest. The owner of the company is Jeff Bezos. He owns Amazon. He's obviously worried about their editorials and their pick and support of a president and the effect it would have on his business. But the liberal clientele of the Washington Post, they weren't happy, so they're canceling anyway. Oh, an investigator said a man suspected of setting fires in all those ballot drop boxes in Oregon and Washington state was an experienced metal worker that may have been planning additional attacks. Portland Police Bureau said authorities believe the man who set these incendiary devices in the ballot boxes in Portland and nearby Vancouver, Washington, had a wealth of experience in metal fabrication and welding. They're still looking for him. Police previously has said surveillance video showed him driving a Volvo away from the scene. The vehicle didn't have a front license plate on it, but it did have a rear plate with unknown letters and numbers on it, but they fear he will continue to attack the ballot boxes. In the meantime, while everyone is home campaigning, Senator Chuck Schumer, head of the Democrats, was securing almost $1 billion in funding for a couple technology centers that are going to, are you ready? Be built in Albany, New York. That city was selected by federal officials to be the national headquarters into some new cutting-edge semiconductor technology. The lab will have the advanced chip-making machinery in the world that allow researchers to collaborate with university counterparts. $1 billion, folks, he has secured for his New York folks. Federal officials said there were more cases of E. coli poisoning from the McDonald's slivered onion quarter-pounder caper that took the nation by storm last week. Onions that were distributed by Taylor Farms, a food supplier with a processing plant down in Colorado. The FDA still inspecting some of the facilities there, but with the latest government update now, 95 people have been sickened, 27 of them hospitalized, 2 with kidney failure. 1 death reported down in Colorado tied to that outbreak. Usually there's about 74,000 infections of E. coli poisoning each year in the United States. Tech companies continue to do well. Microsoft on Wednesday reported their quarterly sales grew by 16%, $65 billion in that quarter for Microsoft. Now that's big intel. But we only hear about big oil, don't we, all the time? You know, they're an $8 to $10 billion quarterly profit company. Microsoft, $65.6 billion over the quarter. Huge money going into these tech companies. The software maker also reported an 11% increase in their quarterly profits. Profits for Microsoft were $24 billion. That's after all those bills are paid. U.S. stock indexes were pointing upward today so far as the futures go. Yesterday, though, the Dow fell 91 points. Also, the S&P fell yesterday. NASDAQ was down as well, even with the Magnificent Seven doing well. We had some bad news from Volkswagen, Ford, Eli Lilly, and others reported yesterday. The government will issue its final snapshot on hiring this week as we head into the election on Tuesday. The report will include some of the most distorted monthly employment figures, though, in years. Listen to this. Listen to how they are setting this up a day before we get the employment numbers. They're already saying it's going to be distorted because of the hurricanes and the Boeing strike. That's what they say. I don't think Boeing workers, though, file for unemployment when they go on strike. Usually unions pay their workers while they were out on strike. So I don't know how that's going to work. Anyway, when we get the numbers, we'll go over them for you in detail because we go right to the Labor Department to get them and do not listen to AP. Crude oil yesterday rose 18 cents. U.S. crude now at $68.79 a barrel. We told you earlier about Starbucks' new CEO. He's dropping one of their drinks. Well, the new chairman also wants customers to get their orders hand-delivered by a barista in 4 minutes or less. That's his goal, to try to reinvigorate the company's sagging sales. He said half the company's transactions are now completed in 4 minutes or less. He wants to focus on these bottlenecks that delay the other half of them, from inadequate staffing to slow ovens that Starbucks uses. First on the chopping block, as we mentioned this morning, that olive oil-infused beverage, that no longer will be available, but trying to get your coffee to you in 4 minutes or less. Washington State man who pleaded guilty to killing eagles on Native American reservations in Montana faces sentencing today. Travis John Branson, part of that trafficking ring, killed at least 118 of them around the Flathead Reservation. The birds' parts were sold on the black market. 3,600 birds overall were killed, according to an indictment. Feathers and other bird parts widely used by Native Americans. Branson pleaded guilty in March to charges of conspiracy and wildlife trafficking. He could face 5 years in prison on that charge. We'll see what happens today. could have to pay restitution of $750,000, although I don't know how he would ever be able to pay that, especially while he's in prison. He's not going to be able to work, so that sentence will be delivered today. Snow has fallen on Hawaii's tallest peak, turning that mountaintop into a winter wonderland. Mauna Kea on the Big Island got 2 inches of snow this week. Hawaii, of course, known for its warm weather, beaches, and rainforests, but it's not unusual for snow to fall in the higher elevations. This week, the upper-level disturbance brought colder temps and moisture there, and so Hawaii got snow before Billings did. And the World Series, Game 5 was the most watched game that they had in the World Series last night. The game on Tuesday night was the most watched up until then, with the Yankees winning 11-4. They averaged 16.2 million viewers. The games in Japan were actually bringing more viewers than the games here in the U.S. So, and they got to be happy in Japan with Shohei Ohtani now winning a World Series. And they will have the parade for the Dodgers coming up on Friday. Cat Country News Time is 6:44. Sports and weather next.
In sports, more baseball. He's 26. He posted a .288 batting average this season, 41 home runs, 129 walks, a .989 OPS, and he can be yours for about $600 million, as Juan Soto is now a free agent.
Oh, really?
And he didn't say that the Yankees have a leg up or anything else. He just said, I'm going to get paid.
Payday.
That's right.
Yeah, payday. Well, folks, I got to tell you, yesterday was a beautiful day. Clear skies, sun, hardly any wind, about 48-ish yesterday was great. Today, another good one, 50 degrees, 53 tomorrow, 50 if you're coming in for the trip party on Saturday night, so 50 Saturday, that looks good. Pretty good stuff for November, folks. 28 out there right now, a little chilly this morning. If you park outside, might be a little frost on the window. 6:46, and that's what's happening. Mark and Paul here together. Bonus Thursday today. Keep listening for that throughout the morning here on The Cat.